Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Stephen Like a Gamer, and I'm back with another thoughts on game discussion video on. I'm gonna go ahead and call it the next backlog game I've completed because, like I said, there were two games in the backlog that I was gonna etch out anyway, and this is gonna be one of them that takes its place, and that game is Dissidia Final Fantasy, or Final Fantasy Dissidia, however you want to say it. Yeah, PSP action RPG 101 fighting game, I'd want to say it, but just basically a 101 fighting game with a lot of RPG elements. This is my second time going through this video. The first one, I was 15 minutes in. I don't even think I was halfway through everything. It was getting long-winded, and I was getting bored. So I'm going to try to make it a little bit better for this second go-around, and hopefully the lighting and everything is good in here. So I'm just using some natural light, and hopefully it's good enough. But anyways, Final Fantasy Dissidia Final Fantasy on the PSP. I'm going to set it back here. Don't know if you can see it or not. But yes, have you ever started playing a game and immediately when you start playing it, you don't want to put it down? That's what happened with me in this game. It was just, as soon as I started playing it, I got hooked into it. I did not want to stop playing it. I was really enjoying it. I think it only took me maybe about a week and a half, if that, to even beat it. Because I just stayed to it, stayed down, focused on it, and I think 28 hours later I was done with it. So, without further ado, I'll go ahead and get into it. Like I said, I'll try not to make this long-winded or complicated, because this can be an in-depth, complicated game. But I'm going to just try to make it simple and not get too in-depth with certain stuff. But, yeah, fantastic game on the PSP. I loved it. Game that I didn't think it got well reviews. Maybe it was just like 6s and 7s, and that kind of threw me off. But I loved it. I loved everything about it. So can't wait to get the second one. So anyways, like I said, let me get into this. The story, pretty much really simple story. I won't get into too much of it, so I don't spoil anything. But basically how it is, it's good versus evil, light versus dark, cosmos, light side, chaos, the dark side. At one point, everything was balanced between them. That kept balancing in the world and universe. And all of a sudden, of course, chaos, the dark side, wants to overcome light and cosmos in the light side and wants to rule all. He doesn't want balance, he just wants darkness everywhere. And basically how the game is set up, Cosmos has her followers, which are pretty much the good guys of the Final Fantasy series, from the first one to the 10th one. And then you have Chaos, who has the bad guys from those games, from the Final Fantasy series. So that's pretty much how the game stems out and how it is. So it's this battle, good against evil. And who wins in the end, who knows? You'll have to play it and find out. So that's pretty much the gist of the story, how it goes. And how the story is played out in the gameplay is, like I said, you have characters from the first Final Fantasy all the way to the 10th one, and the bad guys from it. So the game is laid out in story arcs of 10 different storylines, Final Fantasy 1 being the first one, 2, 3, so on and so forth to 10. And after completing one of those storylines, you'll unlock a new set of storylines known as the Shade Impulse story arcs. And there's 4 chapters to that, I want to say, or 4 story arcs to that. So all in all, including a tutorial, you'll have like 15 story arcs on this main menu in the story mode. And don't know if you need to or not, but I went ahead and I played through every story arc before I touched the Shade Impulse stuff. And the whole time while I'm playing through the story arcs, there was only one Shade Impulse story arc in there. And once I played through Shade Impulse, it unlocked the next one. And basically how it is, each character has its own storyline. I started off with the Final Fantasy 7 one because it had a star rating of 1, which meant that was the easiest story arc to go through. And how they're made up is each storyline has 5 different maps on it, which you can go ahead and just call it 5 different chapters within that storyline to make it simple. And after finishing all 5 of those, that completes the map. And that completes that storyline. And each storyline ended with the same ending. Kind of like Super Street Fighter 4, how every character had their own storyline, but in the end it kind of all finished in the same spot, same area. But that's pretty much how the game went. Now the Shade Impulse storyline you unlock is what leads you to the end game content. So I don't know if you need to finish all 10 to do that, or right after I beat the Final Fantasy 7 story arc, that Shade Impulse one unlocked. So I think I could just went on ahead and played through that and beat the game. But again, I don't know. Maybe they just continued to unlock because I had beaten all the other chapters already beforehand. So, not sure if I can help you there, but it's worth playing through every story arc so you can get every little gap in detail filled in the story. Because, like I said, every storyline is kind of different with their own thing going on. Or sometimes they'll be with another group of the Final Fantasy characters. It just all winds up just leading to this one ending cutscene still that plays after the end of all of them. So each character has their own like end boss they'll go against, and the end cutscene to follow that, which is really cool. But then again, just that same cutscene will happen until you play through the Shade Impulse and you unlock the ultimate ending and the ultimate final boss fight. So that's pretty much how it'll play out. And how the game played out is, like I said, each chapter, each story arc has the 5 maps you go to, or chapters. Take some water. Yeah, the first time I did this video, my throat started getting really parched and everything. So, anyways, got the water here on standby just in case it happens again. And how it's set up, if you put in mind a strategy RPG where you just have a grid map out in front of you, basically the gameplay goes is you go on this map and you're only allowed to move a set number of spaces, say 5 spaces. Now the goal of the map is to get to the final chaos piece that's in that map section, most time on the other side of the board. So somehow you got to get from this side to this side within 5 moves. And there's going to be enemies blocking your way. There could be chests or potions you want to stop off and pick up. But each time you stop to fight something or pick up an item, you're using one of your moves. So if you only have 5 moves and you move to fight someone, that's going to cost you a point to move. But how it kind of balances itself out is when you're fighting an enemy, sometimes they have bonus like little side mission attached to it, or if you beat the enemy, say within 10 seconds, they'll reward you that point back. So it's like you got a free move. A lot of times these little side things are tougher to actually achieve than that, though. But some are easier than others. And even if you do like run out of spaces to move, there's no penalty to really moving extra spaces. Say you have 5 moves and it's actually your 6th move. Yeah, it's just going to say -1 in the top where it was having a counter of how many spaces you're allowed to move. And all that really affects is your negative overall ranking after the end of the story arc, where it gives you a grade, somewhat kind of point ranking system on how you did. So nothing to lose there. I wouldn't even worry about that. Fight who you want to fight, pick up the chest you want to get equipment, take the negative rating if you want, because it's not going to affect the end boss and everything like that. I don't believe it does. So while you're doing this, like I said, you can pick up items and stuff on that map. But then once you click on an enemy or a boss fight, perhaps near the end, it's going to go into a combat system, and that's where this game revolves all around. Is the combat and the RPG elements to the combat, which, if you listen to some reviews or some things, it can sound really confusing. I'm going to try to make it sound as simple as I can, because I found the game really simple to understand and get acquainted with. It wasn't hard at all to me. I simplified it for myself to where I didn't care about much else. I just focused on certain things. So I'll try to do that for you here without sounding too confusing. So the combat. How it works is each character, just to start off, can be mapped out with a different set of abilities as you level up, which this game is based on experience and leveling. You'll start at level 1, you'll level up, level 2. By the end of the game, I was in the 60s after some grinding to do the final boss fight, because it was one of the toughest boss fights I've ever had. It's the toughest boss fight I ever had to do, so I'll let you know that now. But it's based on leveling and stuff like that. So as you're leveling, you're going to unlock new abilities, more powerful abilities, and you're able to go in and switch the abilities you want out in a menu to which moves you want to use. You're going to be having to pick and choose between certain abilities to use, because you can't use all of them. If you can only map a certain amount of attacks to buttons and stuff, and they're going to overwhelm you sometimes with multiple different abilities for some characters. So just kind of pick and choose to your liking which moves you like, and just to make it simple, you don't really have to mess with anything if you don't want to. You can probably beat the game with all the default settings for every character. But it pays to go in and look at their move sets and see what kind of stuff you can switch out and abilities and everything, certain bonuses you can attach to them. I won't get into in depth to it because it'll get so long-winded discussing that it'll just get boring. So just know that you can interchange abilities if you want to by going into the customization menu and doing all that. You also can do, just like in any Final Fantasy game, you can buy new armor, new weapons and equipment for your character. You can equip them with accessories that give them bonus abilities during the combat. Just multiple things for customization wise, whether it's unlocking new abilities, leveling up, getting new equipment and accessories, kind of making and forming new weapons and equipment through a forging type shop system. Many different ways to make your character your own in that game. And it gets even more into developing a character for yourself and picking and choosing because there's so many in the game. When you get to that final Shade Impulse area, like I said, you had the 10 different story arcs from Final Fantasy characters that are light side. So Tidus from Final Fantasy X, Cloud from 7, Squall from 8. And when you're going into that Shade Impulse, you're going to have to pick one character out of all those to like who you want to finish this game off with. I chose, I believe, was the Nameless one, I believe was his name, or the Nameless Soldier. I don't know if they list characters in here or not. Makes me want to go back and check. Yes, here we go. The Warrior of Light is the one I used. I don't know where I got the Nameless one from. But yeah, the Warrior of Light. That's the one I choose to go to the end game with. And, I mean, a ton of characters in this game. Onion Knight, Squall, everyone. And I really enjoyed playing with the Onion Knight because he was so fast and did really good combos. But you got to think about in this game the type of attributes and abilities and stuff you like. Because each character has bravery attacks and hit point attacks. And they're all different. The reason I went with the Warrior of Light because his hit point attack was really good and easy to pull off. And I'll explain what those are now. Basically, the game, you'll have a hit point bar, and you'll have a bravery meter. And how that works is, at the bottom, say each of you have 1,000 health. You and your computer AI opponent. And then you're each going to start off with a stock amount of bravery. As you level up, that bravery stock gets higher, and depending on the equipment and stuff you buy, the bravery will be higher. So say I start off with 150 and the AI opponent starts off with 150. Well, the concept of the game is to raise your bravery number by landing bravery attacks, and then when that number is high enough, attack them with a hit point attack, and that is what actually damages the opponent. So you're going to be mashing away with O for a while, the circle button on the PSP, to build your bravery up. And as soon as you feel like you have enough bravery and want to unleash an attack, you can then do so. You can use your bravery and unleash an attack with square, and that will do damage to the opponent's life points. Now, how all this balances and weighs is, when I'm attacking someone with bravery, not only am I gaining bravery, I am taking their bravery away. You'll see their meter going down while your numbers are going up. Of course, their life points aren't getting touched because you're using bravery attacks. But once their bravery hits 0, they go into a mode called break mode. They've been broken. Their defenses are broken, and they're like really vulnerable. You'll start noticing that your bravery will start shooting up through the roof once you start landing attacks and everything. So it's a good move to always try to break your opponent's bravery all the way down to 0. How this can get difficult is if your opponent starts getting massive amounts of bravery. There are summons and special things in the game that could give your opponent, they could have no bravery, then all of a sudden they can use a summon, a magic pot, take all your bravery, say you're sitting at 2,000 and copy it, now they have 2,000 bravery. So how in the world do you get 2,000 bravery all the way down to 0? That's where things start getting crazy when you're trying to bravery against bravery, and if they're hitting you with it, now you got to outlast the hit. And basically how it works is, if my opponent has 0 bravery and they have 1,000 hit points, and my bravery is sitting at 1,200, once I hit them with a move that's 1,200, well, that's greater than 1,000, ain't it? Guess what? They're dead. That's a one-shot kill. So the goal of the game is to increase your bravery to a high enough amount for me to where when I hit them, I pretty much kill them with one hit. Now that doesn't work every time. There could be a special ability they have equipped that leaves them with one hit point. There could be an ability that, I don't know, just chops damage in half. And you also have to take into consideration that some near the end of the game, some of the health pools for some of these bosses is up in the 4,000 HP range. So working your bravery up to 4,000 can take a while. So it kind of does pay off once in a while to just work your bravery up a little bit, leech a hit point attack, just take off a little bit of damage here and there. But where you run the risk with that is, if your opponent has bravery and you have bravery, they kind of can counterbalance some of the damage you put out. So it can kind of block all the hit points that you do to their hit point meter. So if I had 500 bravery, they had 500 bravery, and I hit an attack with them, it's not going to do as much damage as if they had 0 bravery, if that makes sense. So hopefully you're not lost or confused right now. The easiest thing I would say is mash away with O, landing all those attacks. Then when they're vulnerable, just hit square and hit them with a hit point attack. You'll catch on really quick, and it's really simple. And you're thinking, well, how are there just 2 buttons to fight with? How is all this work? Is it fun with just 2 attacks? Or it's up to 3 attacks mapped per button, because there's an attack by hitting just circle by itself. There's an attack by hitting back and circle, back circle, forward, or back square, forward square, or just tapping square. So that's 6 attacks right there you could possibly have up to. And then it even changes again if you're floating in the air. When you're changing again, you can have an all new set of different moves. So it leaves room for lots of thinking and strategy. If you're fighting on the ground, but all of a sudden your enemy goes in the air, you have to jump in the air. Make sure you have the right amount of moves mapped to your air buttons. The game reminded me a lot of a Dragon Ball Z like Tenkaichi game, because you can go from fighting on the ground to in the air to just throwing fireballs at each other, flying all around. Except I think it does it better. It just does it a whole lot more simpler and better. Just worrying about the 2 buttons, it just simplifies everything to me. There's a R button is mapped for blocking, X is for jumping, so you can just kind of block and dodge around the map. And triangle is for a dash button if you just want to dash to your enemy. So not really complicated with the controls. I think a lot of people just get confused when you're trying to tell the difference between bravery and hit points. Now, I don't know if there's 2 control schemes in this game, because I think the second one does have like an RPG type battle theme. Or RPG type like battle mode, to where instead of constantly moving around, you can just pick what you want your character to do, like in an RPG: attack, defend, or whatever, I think. But in this one, I just left it on the action, full-on combat, and I found it real simple. Like I said, you just hit circle to land some bravery attacks and hit square to actually do damage to somebody. It's not too complicated. Now, you can also get to special ability. There's going to be these jewels on the map that once you, for an EX meter, once you get that powered up, you can go into a supercharged, like, turbo state where you're doing massive amounts of damage for your bravery, and you can actually land a special attack by hitting the square, but instead of doing it when you do a HP attack, if you land that attack, it'll go into a little mini game type mode where each character have their own little thing. I might have to tap circle rapidly to charge a meter, and then they'll unleash an attack, or I might have to put in a certain pattern on the D-pad, and they'll do an ultimate attack, which is really cool too, and the cutscenes for those are really cool. So, and all these bravery and hit point attacks are really flashy and smooth looking, and the combos you chain together. The environments are destructible, so you can kick people through them, just like in the DBZ games. You're flying through the air, it can get kind of chaotic and fast. The enemy AI will piss you off sometimes, because sometimes they'll be 5 levels higher than you, and they'll be dodging and evading and blocking everything. The only tips I could give there is just go out and do some grinding with the character, level up in just arcade mode, go back in and handle the boss. So that's pretty much how the combat will go. It's just one-on-one fighting through the storylines, and that's pretty much it as far as the combat. If there's anything else, I'm trying to think with it. just like I said, there's so much room on these maps. All you got to remember is land with bravery attacks and then do damage with hit point attacks. And like I said, how it can determine what your favorite character might be is because everyone's HP attack would be different. I stuck with the soldier I picked because his HP attack was really easy to actually hit the target with. It was just a frontal attack. He shot a beam of light out. If you got touched by it, you'd get hit. Other characters are harder to pull off. Like I really liked the Onion Knight. And he was fast. The combos were great. A little weak, but when his HP attack was kind of tough to hit because he'd do these cartwheels on the ground, and it'd be kind of tough to hit the target with it. So you kind of balance what you want to have as a character. And I really enjoyed Squall. Squall had a great hit point attack that landed easily, but he was more of an up close and personal fighter. And sometimes I wanted to keep my distance in this game and make the enemy come to me or throw fireballs at him or something. So I really liked the warrior I picked, the Warrior of Light. He was really like a nice balanced character for what I liked for the end game. But that's what I recommend. Play through all the story arcs. You can get a feel for each character. See which one you like the best, and then go ahead and play through the final story stages with that character. But man, there's some water. But yeah, that's just how the battles play out. Once your opponent's life points hit 0, that is the end, and you move on. And I don't know, I just really enjoyed it because it had that strategy RPG type setting with the maps, and then the combat was just so fast paced and just really fun and flashy. I really enjoyed it. The visuals for the PSP I thought were stunning. It kind of looked like the same engine they used to make Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, because I think Square Enix did do that one, am I correct? I believe I am. But, man, I'm losing my voice here. But it looked like the same engine they did for that, as far as the character models and stuff. The maps look really pretty, characters look great, and like I said, the moves and the flashiness of everything just look beautiful on the PSP. It would be awesome to see like a third entry on the Vita with that, man, just the high definition of that Vita screen would be amazing. But only problem with kind of like the graphics and stuff is the levels, although they look cool, they started getting kind of redundant and repetitive. It didn't look like a lot of mix between them. Soundtrack was fantastic because every storyline had its own little music from that series. I really love the music from 10, so it was awesome hearing the themes from that Final Fantasy again. So it was really cool hearing all that stuff. And when people hear Sephiroth's theme when you're fighting him, they'll probably go nuts. But it's really cool. The music shines just like it does in every game. The voice acting I thought was cool, like some characters we never hear with voices, actually giving voices to, and hearing the right pronunciation of names was pretty cool. So, sorry I had to do a quick cut there because my voice is just getting shot from this, trying to do this for almost an hour now. But, yeah, I guess that's my sign to wrap it up. Beautiful looking game. All the moves just feel different with every character, and no character feels repetitive or the same as the other. I love the mixture in the combat. It's a fighting game I've never played before. Cannot wait till the second one. I would highly recommend it, so just give it a try, especially if you like fighting games or you're into Final Fantasy lore. Just go ahead and give it a try. I mean, I think the first one's pretty cheap now, so I wouldn't hesitate on getting it. I really liked it and enjoyed it, so give it a whirl if you're into one-on-one fighting games. Like I said, music, visuals, everything's great about it. So I can't wait to get the second one. I'm going to hold off in case I win Devil May Pie's contest. So I don't have to buy it. So I'm going to see if I win that first before I go and get it. But yeah, I guess that's sorry if this video was long-winded or my voice was shot. I had a long weekend. My face got sunburned. My nose is probably still healing. If I can, I went to a race, so I'll insert a picture here of my After Effects and show you what I look like after I came from the race when I come back home. So I'm still healing up for that. I'm getting over a cold, so hopefully my voice held out for this. And the video wasn't too boring, and I hope I got to touch on the points I wanted to touch on, because I think everyone should give this game a look, because I really enjoyed it, really liked it. So make sure you go check out Dissidia Final Fantasy. If you get thrown off, it does have like a reversible cover, so you might see this in the stands too, in the stalls when you want to get it. So, anyways, I love the game. I'm enough yammering and jammering about it, so check it out. Like a gamer. Like it out.